Okay, well, we'll go ahead and start. We got a lot of stuff to cover, so we can jump in. I just need to look at my sessions here. I was all set up in the fellowship hall and had slides and stuff, so I have a digital copy, but it changed. All right. So everybody in here hates being on stage, I guess. No, I'm just kidding. So funny thing is, at my church and kind of in our area, I have over the last several years, I find myself on stage quite a lot. And so I had said in a podcast, I had told somebody that was with me, I said, I'm actually much more comfortable behind the scenes, like running things and organizing, and that's kind of like my sweet spot. And they just shook their head like, no, they didn't believe me. And so we do this big event. For us, it's big, but we do this big event every year. And it's a whole bunch of acting and drama and everything. And so, and I'm one of the main people in it throughout. And I told them, and they were just shocked. I said, when we first started that, I kind of started it, and I was behind the scenes. I wasn't on stage at all. I just ran everything backstage, and so that's kind of my sweet spot and what I like. But I find myself on stage a lot. So what I want to talk about a little bit is just some of the things that I've learned, and not that I'm an authority on it at all, but some of the things that I've learned and some of the things that might help somebody here. So the first thing is with sound. Now, I have a handout in here, and so I didn't bring pens, but it's, I was looking at everybody's handout, and I'm the only one that makes you work. I have fill in the blanks. And so, so it looks like this right here has a guy peeking from behind the curtain. So if you wanted to follow along and fill that out, great. You don't have to, but so the very first blank there is you gotta have mics. So a few years ago, not very many years ago, our pastor came into our Sunday school, and we do ages 5 through 11, one room Sunday school. We have some other classes, but that's the one that I'm over, ages 5 through 11, and we now, I'm going to talk about this in a little bit, but we now have kind of a semi-permanent space that we do share a little bit, but we can set up and leave it. And so we do, we kind of go all out on decor, and we build stuff and everything. So we were doing a pirate theme. So this has probably been, 5-6 years ago maybe. But we were doing a pirate theme, and so we always have a dynamic opening when the kids are coming in. We always want something happening, some action. So our pastor came up to visit, and he was bringing his nephew. His nephew, was his first time to Sunday school, graduated to our class. So he came up, and we just, it was epic. We had a dynamic opening. We were doing sword fights. We were on the chairs, stepping over kids and sword fighting and everything. And so it was about 2 minutes of just this crazy, music going and everything. And then everything, as is not typical when your pastor is sitting in on the class, everything went off just great and fantastic, and it went off without a hitch. But what he said afterward, I said, so I am always looking for feedback, not just positive feedback. I always want to know, what can we improve on? And so I was asking him, and he said, oh, it was good. Everything was great. He said, but you need mics. We can't hear you. So he said, the action was awesome. Everything you were doing was great, but we got to be able to hear you. And we do theme music a lot and stuff. So that's one thing. Even if maybe you don't feel like you have the budget for mics, there's all kinds of cheap ones that you can get. I don't know what kind this is, but it's a Shure. So this is more expensive body pack, but there's Samsung is one that's pretty inexpensive. And of course, it depends on the dynamics of your classroom, but you've got to be understood. You've got to be heard. Man, I am going to take forever if I keep on elaborating, but I just want to say one more thing. I will often observe like the engagement of kids. And so I've had it where we have like 3 or 4 actors on stage at once doing some really cool stuff. And kids just be like, just not engaged. And that's a lot of investment to have that many people, in your Sunday school. And so what I found most of the time is not necessarily a mic issue, but is most of the time it's because they don't understand. So part of that would be mics if they can't hear you, but sometimes they just don't understand what you're talking about. They don't even get it. Kind of like Brother Julian just said, repent, and they don't know what repent means. And so that's another thing with sound. Okay, set the tone with soundtracks. Now, I don't want to take too much time, but we, in our Sunday school, we are really big on soundtracks. So we use soundtracks, something like this, pretty much 100% of the time. So we are, and we do music and songs and all that kind of stuff too. But we use thematic tracks like this. Just like I said, 100% of the time we're using tracks throughout. And so there's different ones. Does anybody in here use soundtracks at all for your Sunday school? Okay? Yeah? All right. So not a whole lot. Now, again, I understand that some of this does not apply to everybody, and a lot of times I'll get a feel for the room and as far as who does what. But I will say this: even with if it's a smaller class, maybe you're a smaller church, or maybe you do your classes where they're more split up, so the classroom situation is smaller. Even if you have like just a little Bluetooth speaker and you run a soundtrack, if you're telling, and I don't know, all my soundtracks aren't showing up here, but if you're telling a Bible story, I don't know what this one is, so if you're telling a Bible story and you add some soundtrack, and then he let the stone go and Goliath fell, it adds a lot more, or can add a lot more to your story. And it's so easy. I mean, there's a few things we'll talk about, but it's so easy to do that it's so worth it. And again, in our Sunday school, we do that, and it's rather overwhelming. So sometimes new kids, they'll come up and they'll start crying. They'll be just like, this is too much. Lights, music, action. And so, but it can add a lot. So set the tone with soundtracks. My goodness, time is flying. Okay, here we go. So functions and methods with QLab. I'll just cover this really quick. So if you want to write this, if you don't know what it is, QLab is what we use. And I'll just talk about concepts, and I am going to talk about concepts, but I just wanted to mention QLab because it's such a good program. Now, it's exclusively Apple, which is kind of unfortunate. It is exclusively Apple, but it's a awesome program, and here's the cool thing. It's free. They have a paid version too, but it's free, and you can do all kinds of stuff with the free version. And it's very intuitive. It's very easy to use. You can just drag and drop soundtracks into there. As far as soundtracks themselves, I subscribe to a service like Epidemic Sound is the one I use, but there's several of them that cost. I think there are some free ones. I think Sound Planet might be one. I'm sure if you Google it, you can find some free ones. I subscribe because I want to license it so I can use it in videos and things. So, but QLab essentially, if you do all the setup, now you can drag it in. My son runs it at our Sunday school, and he'll do stuff on the fly, drag in a cow, moo or whatever. So you can do stuff on the fly. But if you set it up in our big production that we do, we use QLab and we set the whole thing up, and it's just basically you're just hitting spacebar. You're just tapping spacebar, and everything flows how it's supposed to. This one will cut off while this one comes on. You can crossfade and everything, and it's not it's not a major amount of work. Okay, so other software and equipment. Here's one that's really simple to use that you can have just on your phone is Go Button. Did I skip? Okay, no. So Go Button, and that's kind of a standalone, and it's I think it's iPhone or iPad only. And then there's Multiplay is one that's, I think it's kind of an open source. I haven't used it in a long time, but I think it's kind of an open source program, so that, you know, depending on how techy you might be. And then also SFX from Timeline Theatrics. That's another one to check out. But again, QLab is by far the superior one. If your church uses Ableton, that can be made, you know, you can use Ableton we use Ableton a lot to sync up things. You can have Ableton run sound, lights, and, you know, video, all kinds of stuff. Okay. It's funny, I have an outline, and I have like what time I'm supposed to be done with each of my little segments here, and I am way over already, so we're going to have to blow through this somehow. All right, so tech. Is that where we're at? Tech. So how timers can keep you on track. All right, now this, just hear me out. This might sound a little bit too, you know, sterile or professional for Sunday school, but we do segments. When I say segments, I'm talking about like dynamic opening, offering, Bible story, all these things, lesson, everything. So these are segments or building blocks. We use these segments in our Sunday school, and they have a time associated with them. And so a lot of times we just kind of, you know, we would even say like, hey, this should take about 4 minutes, and just kind of fly by the seat of our pants, and maybe somebody, you know, backstage would be like, hey, hurry up, time, you know. So we, a few years ago, switched to using timers. Now, we use ProPresenter to do that. Again, you can use ProPresenter for free. Now, if you are going to display for the audience, then you have to pay for it, and they just changed their subscription model. But if you just want to use it only for backstage, it's free. So the reason they put a watermark on the audience one if you're not paid for it, but you can download it and use it for free, and that's on Mac or PC. And we use the stage timer. Maybe I could show you an example really quick. And what this does is it gives us a countdown. And I apologize, I thought I was going to be over in the fellowship hall, so I had slides. So I don't have slides in here. So if I just do this here. Okay. So I'll have to walk down here so you guys can kind of see it. I don't know if I'm on video or not on camera, but okay, so this is kind of an example. So this has a lot of notes on it, so it's not the best example, but in fact, let me change this really quick, sorry. We'll change this to our last Sunday school one. Okay, there we go, let's do that. There we go. Okay, so this is what our Sunday school one would typically look like. And so it shows like what's currently happening, and then it shows what's coming up next, and it has your time, and then there's some empty boxes there that have like, they have the place for a message, so you can send a message like, hey, hurry up, or hey, they just dismissed, because we're dependent on the sanctuary. And then it also shows a elapsed time for the whole Sunday school. And so we kind of know that we typically run about an hour, and so we can kind of look and say, oh man, maybe we should speed this up a little bit or whatever. So anyway, so timers are, for us, a huge help on keeping us on track. And with that, well, I don't want to get ahead of myself. Okay, so how we use backstage screens to track script and time. Again, I'm just telling you what we do. I know this is not for every Sunday school, but for our Sunday school, we have a screen probably about the size of the backstage screen there, maybe a little bit smaller. And we have that backstage, and we split it in half, and we have what you just saw, the timer running, and then we have the script, the current page of the script on there. And that's backstage, so when somebody's getting ready to go out this door, we have 2 doors on our backstage, they can look and they can see the screen, they can see the timer, and they know when to go. One of the things we fail on this often, but one of the things I like is to crash the next segment. And so that helps us to stay right on it and keep it flowing. Okay, and then so those are the fill in the blanks in the handout, is screens and script. So how we use backstage screens to track the script and time. And then ProPresenter, I already talked about this, but ProPresenter, there we go, can be used for free if it's just for the backstage. Okay, let's go into lights. So I'm trying to catch up. Okay, here we go. So lights. So set the stage with wash lights. Something that it took me a long time to learn. I didn't know this, but you're actually not supposed to use color lights on skin tone, on people. You're supposed to use white or soft, yellow. So set the stage with wash lights. There's so much that you can do with lighting. I mean, even, at your house or whatever. But with decor, you can do some kind of cool decor, and I got that on my notes, and set it up, and it looks okay. It looks kind of nice, but then you put dramatic lighting on it, and it completely changes it, completely. And so if you let's say that we had a decorated backdrop up here on stage, and we didn't really have anything over here, but on the side we had some wash lights, shining some purple light over there or something like that, and that's where the bad guys are coming up or whatever. So you can do a lot with wash lights. So set the stage with wash lights. All right, can anybody quote this verse? And how shall they see without stage lights? You know that one, Brother Hodge? You read that? And how shall they see without stage lights? So you could have I've made this mistake before. You can have wash lights and it looks super cool, but then the people on stage can't be seen, and so then it goes back to the thing about the mics, if they can't understand. And so if they can't see you, then what's the point? And so stage lights, I have used everything. The best that I know of, the best are digital ellipsoidals, but they're very expensive. Ellipsoidals, ELIPSOIDAL, ellipsoidal. So digital ellipsoidals are the best. They're very expensive. We don't have digital ellipsoidals right now. We have just regular ones. But I have used just halogen lights from Home Depot and hung them up so that it shows some light. Those are 500 watts usually, and so it shines some light. 2 of them shining on the stage. All right, and then they could see. All right, effects lighting. That's the next fill in the blank. Effects lighting helps to build tension in the scene. I was going to show a really cool video of some effects lighting, but effects lighting is, can be movers and colors. Really movers, though. You can do a lot of just cool stuff with movers and strobes. Now, it doesn't have to be all fancy and what's called DMX controlled, if you're not familiar with lighting. It can be as simple as we've done this before, is, those strobe lights you buy at Party City, well, when they were open, but, you buy those strobe lights, and I've set them up on the front of the stage and ran, just a couple of them on cords all the way to wherever the media guy is with a power strip. And he just flips the power strip on, and they all start flashing, and you can do the crucifixion of Jesus or whatever the story is, and then turn them off. So effects lighting can help build that tension. And then with the careful, I have it in all caps because I just made a mistake with this very recently. With the careful use of fog, you can create a dramatic atmosphere. So we like to use fog a lot for all kinds of stuff, and I want to get better at directing it very specifically. Well, we did something last minute, and so I was like, oh, fog would be super cool for this scene. So I run up in the loft, grab a fog machine, run down, plug it in, get it warmed up, and then I'm like, where's the remote? And we have 2 fog machines and 2 remotes, and you can't tell which one's which. And so it's it's not this one. So I run back up in the loft. Well, it's on, so the fog just starts going. And we have a pretty decent sized space, but it just filled it up. And the kids haven't gone over there yet. We do interactive Sunday school, so we go to a different room. We haven't gone over there yet, and they start seeing this fog come over. So one of our staff was like, don't breathe that, don't breathe, that's the bad guys. So I had to open the door and run fans and everything. Okay, my goodness, we're out of time. Okay, so decor, let's talk about decor. Oh, really quick, I'm sorry, let's get into some specs really quick. So ideas for equipment to use. I mentioned stage lights, ellipsoidals already. You can get, the ellipsoidals are like those big long ones. I think there might be some in the sanctuary, I'm not sure. But you can get some that are like the ones in the sanctuary that look like a big barrel. Those are called can lights. And they don't change color, they just usually change intensity. And those are probably the cheapest ones you can get. You can get like what's called flat bars. Those are also in the sanctuary. They are shining kind of down. They're like this big, and they're like flat. And then, I don't know, I see some in here. But those are a couple. And then for software, the best that I know of, and this is probably controversial, is it's called MA3. It's expensive. There's a free one called DPro. It's kind of open source. We use that for many years. There's LightKey and there's QLC. Okay, moving on to decor. And this is the one I really wanted to spend the most time with, but we're running out of time quickly. So we are really big on themes. We're kind of, I guess, maybe known about before that a little bit. We build big themes. I'm in the process of building a Coliseum right now. It's 15 feet tall and 34 feet across. And then we do slides and build playgrounds that look like a cave and that kind of thing. So we do big themes, and it's really fun and it's cool and makes kids want to go to Sunday school. But I know everybody can't do that. So the reason behind themes at whatever level it is because I like for kids to, when they walk through a door, to step into another world. When I start a theme, I get into the door and I go like this. I get down on my knees and like, what are the kids going to see when they walk in? What's the first impression? Because that sets up the rest of Sunday school. That's how they're going to view it. And so that's why for themes. So step into another world using themes in your Sunday school. And then the next blank is immersive decor. So we like to completely immerse the room. And then I know I'm going fast. Weekly pop-up Sunday school. I wanted to talk about this really quick because I know that we are one of the very few people that have a semi-permanent spot. But it wasn't always that way. We used to set up every single week and take down every single week. And I know many people have to do that. But we still did epic themes. Our first time we did a pirate theme, we built a ship, and so it was about probably as long as this row, and maybe even a little bit bigger. But at that time we were able to fit all the kids, and I think we had like 30 kids or something. We were able to fit all the kids into the ship, and we would do pirate ship and Navy ship, and so it actually had sides on it. We had a floor that we would lay down. It was plywood painted one way for the pirate ship, and we'd flip it over, and that was the other way for the Navy ship. We had these railings that we made, and we'd clamp them on, and they would be, one would be, I think one was kind of an orangish wood color, rustic, and that was the pirate ship. And then one was like silver, spray painted, whatever, and that was the Navy ship. So the kids would recognize, they would come in and they would know what ship they were getting onto, when they came in. So we would do that. We did many themes. We did another big boat. We did hot air balloons. We did an army theme. We did a spy theme, all with just completely surrounded decor. I mean, even the ceiling. In fact, we even would tack got to get permission to do this, but we would tack blue plastic to the ceiling. We had this, the ceiling was covered, every single wall was covered, all of that, and it's a lot. Here's the secret: it's a lot of work. So a lot of times people ask me, "How do you do that in a space that's shared that you have to set up and take down every week?" Work. That's how. And that's the secret, is it takes a lot of work and a lot of effort, but it's so cool. So one really quick story with that is we had a kid, or some people coming to Sunday school, and a dad was bringing his daughter into our Sunday school. This is years ago when we were setting up in the fellowship hall and taking down every week. And he comes in and he leaves kind of abruptly, and I thought something was wrong. I mean, he left his daughter there, but so I kind of went and chased him down. I was like, "Hey, is everything okay?" He's like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to get my wife. She's got to see this." And so it was really cool. Okay, we are out of time, but let me just cover this really quick. So scheduling. So this was just in the title that Brother Booker gave me, and so I don't know exactly what he meant. But I'm gonna hit a couple things with scheduling. I don't know if okay, so keep your segments short as a general rule. I don't know why I don't have this on my thing here. So keep your segments short as a general rule. Our average segment is 2 minutes. I know that's pretty short, and we have a saying in Sunday school, 2 minutes is an eternity on stage. And so our average segments are 2 minutes, and we try to interrupt the previous segment. So somebody's out there, they're doing dynamic opening, they're in the middle of it, and then the music changes, and the next person comes in, like pushes them off stage and does the opening welcome. And so we try to keep it moving. Now the exceptions to that, our Bible stories are usually 8 to 12 minutes, and then altar service timer is 6 minutes. Obviously, you throw that out the window if it's going well. And on the converse side, we always push it to go at least that long because of the importance of altar. Oh man. Okay. Anticipate the potential. The potential engagement for segments to set time. So that's why with our Bible stories we have fully costumed actors and everything going on, special effects, and so the kids are engaged. And so that's why I feel like we can push those longer. Offering. And now there's times where you can do some really cool stuff with offering, but offering might not be as engaging. And so it's like you got 2 minutes, but make it the coolest 2 minutes you possibly can. All right, and then if you interrupt the segments like I just talked about, it can help with flow. And so if you crash the next segment so that it's like, I want the kids getting whiplash. They're looking around like, what's happening? Our backstage is backstage. It's behind the audience, and so a lot of times our kids you see somebody coming from the back. Okay, and then some methods behind casting. Again, I'm over time, but I'll just mention one thing that I kind of do sometimes, and this depends on your staffing. We'll double up a lot of people. And so one person, I have a spreadsheet it'll show how many roles they have for this Sunday. And then sometimes we get it to where, oops, that's back to back. But sometimes a person is playing like 7 different roles. And they might be acting in like 5 of them and their staff for this and this, And so with the casting, also with if I have a theme bad guy or a theme good guy, and then they're having to double up in altar or lesson or something, sometimes I'll try, it doesn't always work this way, but I'll try to make the theme good guy be the teacher of the lesson instead of the theme bad guy, because even though we're wearing costumes, they know, oh, it's Brother John, and so he's a bad guy. So anyway, those are a few things. Man, I wanted to have a question and answers and everything, and we're 4 minutes over, but it really quick. Anybody have questions? It varies, but probably about 60. Yeah, and it fluctuates down and up both. Yeah, so probably about 60. Yes. No, I don't, but I'll tell you one that you could look at. They're really good. Is Worlds of Wow. Excuse me, Worlds of Wow. Worlds of Wow they do professional decor, and for churches like what we're doing, kind of, but a little bit more permanent space, daycares, that kind of thing. But they're incredible. But no, I'm building the Coliseum right now, and I've been doing a bunch of research on the Coliseum, and it's incredible. It's an incredible feat that they did. But I just look stuff up and try to get ideas, and what's going to look cool to the kids. So, anything else? Yes. Yes. like the one in the sanctuary, Billboard Flex. Billboard Flex, and from what I found, I used to use Ecod Graphics out of Brooklyn, New York, and they're very good. They can print double-sided ones. If you're ever doing a mobile Sunday school, they can do double-sided ones, and Billboard Flex does not. But Billboard Flex is the cheapest by far. If you do billboard size, which I think is what's in the sanctuary right now with a 40 by 14, if you do billboard size, it's like, oh man, I want to say 57 cents a square foot or something. It's very cheap. But even if you do non-standard sizes, it's under $1 a foot. And if you go price them, like especially locally, it's going to be expensive. Most printers, of course, you guys have LA, but most printers, probably even here, our town's way smaller, but even here, probably are outsourcing those, unless they're like a 3 foot or something. A lot of printers, before you get to really expensive ones, a lot of printers only do 5 feet, 60 inches by whatever the run is.